Your joy is not selfish. It is your portal to abundance. And today we're gonna integrate that truth again within you because it's one of the most important frequency that you can carry in your life, and it is not selfish. So welcome if you're new, or welcome back. um, Today's episode is so important to me because I have felt for so long a lot of guilt and conditioning around the idea of feeling joyful and inviting more pleasure into my life, following what feels good. And I think I want to talk today about a lot of the social conditioning that is put upon us. And I know that you are trying to pursue your dreams. I know that you are letting yourself evolve as a human being. I know that you are kind with yourself, but I know that probably there's a part of you that still doubts in going all out, doing things that only feel good. I know that part of you, when you start indulging in just expressing that joy as well, um, there's a little voice in the back of your mind that may feel like, is it too much to say how happy I am? Or is it safe to let myself fully go for exactly the things that bring me pleasure? And there's a lot of conditioning, obviously, as I was saying, in society, but for me, there are three main things that we need to just let go of, three blocks. The first one is that we've been taught for so long that our joy is tied to external results. And I know that you, even though you don't want, but you've probably tied so much of your worth and happiness and pleasure to how much you have achieved so far. And a joy is always seen as a reward, as it was something external to us, or something that that somehow we're not excuse me, that we're not able to experience just for the sake of experiencing, just like breathing. And um I know that you want to feel more of that in your life, so we need to make space to explore all those stories that make us feel that we need to wait to be happy. I think it is so damaging for our a little inner hearts out there giving everything. It is damaging for our relationships as well, because when you are the best version of yourself, it's easier for people to connect, obviously. And I don't know why I felt so much guilt around um, going after what I wanted, because I was afraid that it would mean not being present enough for the people that I love. And somehow, maybe you have this connection as well with joy and freedom that are a little bit mixed up. And part of us sometimes feel that we cannot be fully free if we're not, if we're fully happy. There's a part of our freedom that we don't know if we're able to express it or go for it. So there's a lot of conditioning. I know that you're probably almost past all this conditioning, but I also want to bring to your attention that you need to remember that you're going to evolve and you have changed so much since the beginning of your life that joy is not going to look the same um, depending on where you are in your journey. And I want you to give yourself permission to understand that the changes we make in our lives, the decision that sometimes feel uncomfortable, we're ultimately seeking joy, but we need to understand that it comes from a place of recognizing that we're humans and that as humans we evolve. So if right now you feel like there are things that brought you joy in the past, but that they don't anymore, it's just part of this deconditioning of understanding that society sees it as something constant that you can just grab when you feel like there's a reward to catch. But it's actually, first of all, always part of us. And it's also something that it evolves with time. Um, and the conditioning that we carry only gets louder when we really go after what we want. And that's why I wanted to do an episode on that, because if you are at a point where it's starting to get loud because you're really indulging in expressing that joy, I want to remind you that joy is the highest frequency that you can feel. And as a business owner, there's nothing more magnetic than when you are radiating joy and gratitude. And when we sell our products, when we promote ourselves, there is such a different energy when we are connected to joy. And I think you can feel it. Excuse me, you can feel it every time you follow someone on social media or you meet someone you admire. Like, I know that you can just feel this magnetism from them just being doing something they care about. And you just want to connect with these people. You just want to be in their energy. You want to be part of their lives. I'm not saying like, I mean, we don't rush to just buy the products, but there's an energy that pulls us toward. And somehow we forget that this is our highest frequency and our most precious gift because it connects us to magnetism. Also, I want to remind you that this is something that you need to cultivate in the body. And so many times I've forgotten the body in my journey. So many times I had to come back to that. It's the most important thing we have. It's your source of wisdom. It's your source of life force energy. And when you little by little cultivate those feelings again in the body, physically, you're able to experience them more often. And you'll see that sometimes it's not easy to feel joy because we're not used to maintain it for long periods of time. And there's a really good book that talks about that. I can't remember the title right now. I'll put it in the description of the episode. But it's really interesting to see that the more you train your body, your energy to feel joy, the more you can hold it for a longer period. And as the book describes, often because of the conditioning that I was speaking of before, we were able to feel happy, but only to a certain extent or just to a certain period of time. And then something in our life just happens, but it's actually something that we unconsciously provoke because we're not able to hold that energy. So you're gonna start an argument, you're gonna start feeling sick, you're gonna have failure in your business, anything like that. So again, cultivating that energy just little by little, it's the seeds that you plan to hold way more in the future, which leads me to the other point is that the key of the future is actually in the present moment. And not, I'm not talking just about cultivating joy in your business, meaning like going after something you love. I mean that in this whole journey, we hear so much about loving the process. And for me, there is no way you can love this process unless you intentionally cultivate joy at every step of the process. And if you feel that for some reason it's hard right now in your business to connect with joy because mm, you're just building it, or you're in this phase of figuring out like how to make it work, or there's a little bit of heaviness in the business, just come back to your personal life, your morning routines, um, the drinks that you love to read, to have in the morning, the books you like to read, the exercise that you like to do in the morning, the places that make you feel good. This is all part of like just focusing your energy to then have um, space and just ultimately have a capacity to hold more joy when your business is gonna have its first customer or its first 10K month. Like those milestones are not gonna be easy to celebrate if you don't really cultivate just the small celebrations right now. So if you want to be happier in the future, you need to train your body and you need to train your mind to hold those emotions. And I want also to say that my little dog wants some attention. um, joy is ultimately reconnecting with a deeper part of yourself. Um, the image I want you to think of is um, a pillar, or maybe a fertile ground, like the base. It's joy. And if you want to grow all the rest of the emotions that we need to cultivate as um, entrepreneurs, or just in general, like inner work, sense of confidence, trust, all these emotions that we want to cultivate, they need to have a place to land. They need to have a place to just to start sprouting from somewhere. And if you don't have that base, it's really hard to connect with the energy of confidence, connect with the energy of self-worth. It's like, and this is what joy is, what is gonna feed, and it's gonna hold all the rest of the emotions in your life. So if your pillar is really small or really just a few hours a day, well, it's likely that your feelings of, accessing the feelings of inner worth and confidence are going to be small as well, because they don't have enough space to develop. You don't have enough energy to grow the rest of the emotions. So it's kind of thinking of your life force and your battery. If you don't have any battery, um, it's really hard to have clarity, and all the rest of the emotions are not going to be able to be there for long enough for you to access them on a regular basis. So thinking that is your base for everything, it's also going to help you to just make it a priority as well. And I think so often we don't make this direct connection between having more joy equals having more confidence, more abundance, more also all sorts of things. We just think we can somehow create both at the same time, but it starts with joy because um, it is what you experience when you're a child. So it's not conditioned to who you are or who you've been. And sometimes to rebuild our confidence, we try to make a list of, I don't know, maybe you've done a list of everything you've achieved so far, but it's still based on the external. So ultimately, joy is reconnecting you with an inner compass that it's going to be only yours, and it's an infinite source of energy. And I think once you really understand why it's so important to prioritize joy, you'll understand that everything else gets easier to cultivate in your life as well. And that's why it's always called a portal to abundance. It's because it's the base for so many things to grow and happen. And even though you might sometimes fear um, indulging in things that make you feel good because the logical mind cannot see the output and the direct consequence in your sales, it's truly a portal to abundance. And that's one truth that I know you know. And once you just start coming back to it, I promise your whole experience is slowly gonna change and you're gonna become so much more magnetic. And at the end of the day, I know that this is what you want. You want to obviously promote yourself, but you want people to get in your energy. You want them to connect with you, ask you about your story, ask you about your services, and you just want to pull them in. You don't want to be in this constant energy of chasing things in your life and chasing clients and chasing abundance. So I hope it gave you a loving reminder that your joy is precious. It's never been selfish. It's your birthright. And because it's your birthright, it's something that you need to cultivate on a daily basis. Otherwise, you'll always wait to be someone to achieve things. And it's never going to give you the emotional fulfillment that you're actually seeking right now. So let me know how this episode resonated, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm sending you lots of love. Bye.